Hello, YouTubers. This is Burr Stewart with another episode of Fun with Trains. Today we're going to connect these 4 locomotives together in what's called a consist using my NCE DCC system. And I was about to do this myself, and I thought, what the heck, I'll just get on the live stream and you can see it in case you don't know how to do it. So let me just flip my camera over the other way. You can see the locomotives, and we'll get started. For my videos, I usually use a tripod like this. See, it's sticking up from the floor. Big tripod with a nice 3-axis mechanism on the top of it, which you can see rotates really well. And it has a little bracket for holding the camera, which I'm now going to put the camera in the bracket. And then I'm going to set this up so that you can see the locomotives. There's not going to be that much to see in the locomotive department, but I'm going to try to show you the NCE throttle and how easy it is to do this. You've probably noticed, how about this? If I hold that up, can you see it reasonably well? You've probably noticed in a lot of my videos that I hope you've enjoyed, that I run trains with 2 and 3 and 4 locomotives in the front quite often. And it's very easy to do that, but if you don't know how to do it, it can be kind of, you could be curious. So I thought I would just cover that today. Now, I happened to pick up a couple of extra, let me do this right. Take you out of the tripod again for a second. I picked up a couple of extra Walthers Proto GP9s. They came out, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, and they came out with 1700 in the Burrlington Northern green paint and 1702. And one of my friends was getting out of HO and going into N scale, and he had these surplus, and I said, okay, I'll buy them from you. So I bought 2 more, so I would have a string of 4 GP9s. And my friend Tim Taylor volunteered to re-letter them, so you can see they're 1728, 1791, and that's kind of cool. And those 2 numbers are actually real numbers of locomotives that would have run in the Seattle area, which, as you probably know, is what I'm trying to model. So it's kind of fun to have locomotives of the right number for both the era and the locale. Now, just to nitpick on one detail, since it's far, and maybe there are other details you can comment on, but if you look closely at this model locomotive, very closely, you notice there's a little F. F is in Frank, right over here. There's a little F, and that stands for the forward, and that's the forward end of the locomotive, because it was quite confusing since the Great Northern ran with the long hood forward, and this would be the forward end, and the Northern Pacific, which I believe this was a repaint from, ran with the short end forward. And that's a whole nother topic, which I'm not going to really get into. I just wanted to mention that I read the other day that they just started putting that F for the forward on these locomotive repaints. They didn't start doing that until something like 1977 or 8. So what that means for me, very bad news, is that if I'm trying to model 1973 with some locomotives that have been repainted into Burrlington Northern green, they shouldn't have that little F on them. Anyway, these are the kind of nitpicking, ridiculous details that you can get into if you waste too much time on model railroading. Anyhow, I've already done enough of that. So let's get back to what we were trying to do. after I steady this a little bit more. And let's try doing the consist. So the first thing I want to do is demonstrate that they're not consisted. So we'll try this number 1702 here. Can you see my guy? I'm trying to figure out where to hold him just right. About there, is it just about right? So, oh, the light shines too. So you see I've got locomotive 1700 already telling you. If I try the horn, I hear it down there, but you don't hear it. So let's try selecting loco 1702, enter, and horn. Now hopefully you could hear that. It's not, I have the volume turned down, but that is the locomotive we're looking at. If I turn this on, I get the rotating beacon. And if we increase a little bit, we should go forward. Magic. So you see the other locomotives are not moving, and this one is because we selected it. This makes sense, right? So now I'll go the opposite direction, and it'll coast a little bit. Did it go all the way out of the screen, or is it still in? No, this is a good time for me to... No, it did go out of the screen. Well, it's too late now. Okay, so we better slow that guy down. There we go. So now I've proved to you that at least this locomotive is independently controlled. I'm not going to take our time together to show, but just trust me that all four of these, if we selected them, they would independently move. So here's what it takes to set up a consist. I just want to make sure you can see what I'm doing. There you go. There's a button here for program/escape. So if you program, you got a menu. And the first menu is, oh no, that's not it. Oh, forget I said that. You enter and you escape. For setting up a consist, you come to this area called the consist area. By the way, did I say that enough? The word consist is kind of a piece of railroad jargon. If you have a bunch of locomotives hooked up together and running as one unit, you call it a consist. And people also talk about all the trains, all the railroad cars hooked together in a train. They sometimes refer to that as a consist. That can be a little confusing. But in this case, we're talking about the locomotive consist that we want to create. Right now, we just have 4 locomotives. So I just wanted to go over that one more time, make sure you were clear. So that's why this section of the throttle is labeled consist, because it's for making one of these. So if you press setup consist, you got this nice menu. And I want to do an advanced consist, and you don't even want to know what an old consist is because it's such a bad idea. And this is addressed for you, so you can just enter. You don't have to know what that is. It's just stored in the computer what the address of this consist will be. And then we put in the lead loco. So the lead loco we already figured out is 1702. So we'll type that in, 1702, and we'll make sure that we're pressing it nice and hard and getting the result we want. So then we enter, and it asks you which direction are we going. So we say forward, okay? Now it says, what's the rear loco? Now that's because it wants me to be able to select the consist using the rear loco as well. It wants to know that first. So the rear loco will be 1700. Can you still see me all right there? 1700. Enter. Now that locomotive, of course, is facing the other direction. So we need to change the direction. It says, what's the direction? The direction would be reverse, and then we can press enter. Now it says add loco. We put the other two in right away. 1791, 1791, enter. It's going to ask me the direction. It looks like that one's going forward. And then 1728, 1728. And that one is also going forward. And then it says add loco again. I don't have any more, so I just enter. And now it's giving me, instead of LOC for loco up here, it says CON for consist, number 1702. Now, if I press my horn button, I should just get the horn in the front locomotive, which is still true. And if I press the headlight, I just get the headlight in the front locomotive, which you can't see because I don't have the camera at the right angle. Oops. I just kicked the tripod stand. I'm good at that. So now we agreed that we have finished setting up the consist, and all four of these locomotives should be running together. So now, of course, for the moment of truth, we'll try increasing the throttle and see what happens. Whoa, they're going backwards. What's that about? Well, that's because, remember, I brought that other engine in. Ooh, look at that. They stopped at different rates. Very interesting. Know why, but let's just pull these engines apart again and try it and test it a second time, because there's really no reason these four should run together. This is a fun thing about live video. Okay, let's try it again. We're going to increase our speed, and now they're all going together. Now, I have no idea why they did that weird startup thing before. Maybe it has to do with how I was taking them on and off the track when I was still programming them. You're not getting to see all four of them. Let me move you back a little bit. There we go. Now you can see all four of them. Cool, huh? On the front end, which you probably is too weak for you to hear. So we've proved now that we've consisted. But we haven't figured out why that engine is stopping so suddenly. It's probably a CV problem. So I'm going to show you that you can check or redo your settings on your CVs if you need to, even when the loco's in a consist. So this is 1728, and you saw that it behaved weirdly. I'll get the loco card, which should be over here. 1728, is that the one we're concerned about? So here's my loco card that goes with this engine. It shows which function buttons do which things. And on the back, I've written some of the CVs that I've adjusted here. And I'm not going to go into all that right now, but I am concerned about why that stopped suddenly. And that has to do with what's called CV4. 3 is acceleration and 4 is deceleration. So I'm going to set 4 to 215 again on this 1728. So you're getting an extra bonus. I'll show you how to set a CV on a locomotive in addition to how to consist it. So 1728, what we want to do, remember at the beginning button, so that says program loco on main, enter. Now the loco I want to program is not 1702, it's 1728. So we'll put that in, 28, enter. Then it says, what do I want to do? Change the address of the locomotive, the configuration variable, or a regular CV. That's option 2. And the CV number that I want to change is 4. I want to make sure that it's 215. And that's because I use brakes, and I like to have a lot of momentum in the deceleration so that you need the brake. Now I'm going to leave the rest of it like that. So I'll just escape from there. And we'll go back, and of course, it's showing the loco, which does us no good because it's in a consist. So we'll go back to 1702 as our locomotive. Select locomotive, 1702, and enter. So that's good. Now let's try increasing and see what happens. They're all looking good, right? So let's try going the other direction. Reverse. Oh, look how quickly that reversed. That is so strange. See, it's not behaving like the others. And that's deceleration, and I did just set that CV for deceleration. Very strange. Well, the good news is they're both going the same speed. So I think what we'll do, since neither one of us has all day, I think what we'll do now is we'll couple them all together and run out of town as a consist. The fact that this one's behaving a little different doesn't matter because there's 3 other locomotives that will drag around if it stops. And I'll spend some time later figuring out why that doesn't seem to work right. See how that doesn't work? It doesn't have the delay in there. And that's a deceleration rate. I'm just pausing because I want to make sure I'm not forgetting something. Okay, so might have to do with that. So there's the sound. I put that on. Oh, interesting. Well, this is what working with DCC is like, is that some things you understand and some things you don't. Now, all I did there was turn the sound on and off, and that somehow reset the decoder. So now it's working okay. So I guess the main thing is to have some patience. And patience is not really my favorite thing, but it'll have to do. Okay, so here we are. We're going to stop. And I suppose in theory, we should have coupled these locomotives together first, but I really wanted you to see what is involved in programming. So instead of that, let's just shove them together and make sure their couplers are connected. And now we have all 4 locomotives coupled together. So well, we could head out of town. But let me show you this one other feature that I think is really cool about these consists with NCE, these advanced consists. Remember how we have 1702 here going forward? I'll just show you again. All 4 are going forward. Cool, right? Making lots of nice noises and so forth. Now, if I want to have this be the front of the train over here, I can select 1700 instead of 1702. Let's do it right now. Select 1700, enter, and all the engine noises went away. That's because these are ESU, lock sound select decoders in these engines. And when you select a locomotive, it shuts off the main prime mover sound. So I need to press that 8 button in order to start the engine sounds back up again, which should be happening now. I know my voice is loud and I don't really know how much you can hear any of this, but that's why I'm just describing it. So remember what we just decided to do was have this be the front of the engine. So now and you see it says forward. So in theory, if I turn this on now, the train is going to go this way and forward. Remember before we were going that way and forward. So let's try it. There we go. Victory. Now another thing that might make sense to do is turn on that rotating beacon, which is too weak for you to see, and the headlight, which is the headlight button. And you see that little L comes on to tell you the headlight is on. 6 tells you the rotating beacon is on. And I think now we can, well, I better rotate this so you can see where we're going. Sorry about that. Never tried to walk and chew gum at the same time. So we also should be blowing for that grade crossing, but you can't hear the horn anyway. I'm going to come over here. Can you hear that? I got to turn the sound of these horns up. But that's a different day, a different project. The main thing for today was these cool locomotives are all programmed, weathered, and ready for action on the Burrlington Northern. And of course, we're running backwards now because that's the locomotive that we selected, right? I feel like we owe it to ourselves now that we've spent all this time together on this. Let's reselect 1702. Now pay attention to this again. Remember, we're going in reverse now because that's the forward engine that we selected. If we select 1702, actually, you know what? I want to show you one more thing since we've gotten into it this deep. What happens if I select 1791? Let's just try that. Because remember, these engines are all in a consist now. So I'm going to select 1791. Enter. Now let's see what happens when I blow the horn. It goes. You see what I mean? But let's see what happens when I try to make the consist move. So that's going up to speed step 8. Well, nothing at all is happening. And of course, the reason for that is you don't control a consist with one of the inner locomotives. You control it with the locomotives on the end. So now we'll select 17. Oh, by the way, I meant to say, see, it says LOC there with the 1791. It's locomotive that we selected. We didn't select the consist. Again, the computer's doing the right thing to protect this consist. So we'll enter the loco 1702, and we have the consist now, 1702. And we press our 8 button to get our engine sounds on. And I think what I'll do now is unplug the controller, because it's always good to have it plugged in when you're doing this kind of setting of CVs. And now to turn on the throttle, I press the emergency stop button. Don't ask me why you would press an emergency stop button to turn on something, but that's just like a rabbit hole we're not going to go into today. So there we have our locomotives. The only problem is it's not a very realistic view. So I can come in here and we can start up. Let's start up at, let's just say 4. We've got our nice train going. But really, you all know where this is heading, which is we've got a perfectly good little squid bridge over on the other side. So let's move the tripod and the camera over here so we can really enjoy this consist now that we made it up. Oh yeah, I forgot we need a caboose on it too. Pay no attention to the total mess in the basement right now. That's what we want. That's what we want. Okay, now I'm going to just throw a caboose on here for the fun of it. All right with you? If it wasn't live TV, I would go get that with a switch engine, but it just seems wrong to run those 4 engines without a caboose, doesn't it? I mean, we are going from Everett to Seattle, so that means there would be some sort of a crew. All right, you ready? Horn. Oops. I had a little bit of a fuss there. Can I do it this way and you can see what I'm doing? I hate to ruin your view with the throttle. All right, I'm not going to do that anymore. You heard the engine, the horn, right? All right. Let's roll it. I wonder if I can zoom from this position. Wouldn't that be cool? Oh, yes. It's a little silly, but it's cool. I can hear the horn, but you can't. So we got our consist going. See how that works? We don't have any cars, but you know, we can do that another day. I just wanted to get those engines in service. Now, should we keep going? What do you think? Keep going around the Interbay? I think I'll take it out of the tripod is what I think. That way we can, it'll be a little hard for you to watch, but we can get the action a little easier that way. Well, that is really unstable, isn't it? My shaking hand. I'll turn on the bell. You can't really hear, and we'll blow the grade crossing there. And that was speed step 12 we were at. Now I went to 20. So at speed step 20, it should be about 22 miles an hour. I'm going to move up to where we can get a better, more stable view of the thing. Yeah, I love watching trains snake around corners too. Sorry, I'm not holding the camera better. We'll have another one in a second when we get to the Ballard Bridge. So we're going by Carkeek Park now, followed by Golden Gardens. There's a couple making out on the beach there. I don't know if you've ever noticed that before, but there they are. Okay, here's that curve. I haven't set up any switches. Oh yeah, we're zoomed. That's the Ballard Bridge there. Seem to be going across that fine. I'll get rid of that bell. I haven't set up the yard. Oh, look at that. Fantastic. All right. So we're going to stop using our brake. There's the brake. Number 9. And we're almost there. Oh, look at that. We didn't overshoot the turnout. Oh, I love it. Now I have, on my throttles, I have these little nifty CV microphone doohickeys in the back, so I can put these little brackets on the front of the layout. Just hang the throttle there for a minute while I show off how incredible it was that on live TV we were able to stop just where we wanted to be. Look at that. So this is the switch that takes locomotives into the Interbay Engine Terminal, which of course is that thing. And we happen to have an available track that we can put these engines on. Well, that doesn't always happen. So now that we've suitably celebrated, we can go back and have the brakeman flip that switch. So he's going to jump off the locomotive, come down here, flip the switch, and jump back on. Or maybe he's going to stay, actually, he'll probably stay on the ground so he can put the switch back. That's right. So here we go. You ready? I don't think much of that headlight. It'd be nice to have a much brighter headlight than that, wouldn't it? Be very nice. All right. Trying to steady myself on the side of the scenery. One of these days we'll get the rest of the scenery built in here. That's speed step 6. I think I've told you before that I set all my locomotives to a maximum speed of 30 miles an hour in order to enjoy the layout a little more. Having the trains go slower, it takes longer for things to happen. You know, I don't know what they would do with a caboose on a caboose hop like this. I don't think I would take the locomotives into the engine facility, but I suppose you could. Oh, there's some interesting action up here, isn't there? Probably leave that bell on because we don't want anybody to get hurt. There we go. We better stop now, huh? Now it goes without saying, all four of those locomotives stopped at the same time. And we need to turn off that annoying bell. There we go. And I guess we've accomplished our mission. The only thing we haven't done is to pick up that caboose. No, I don't think we'll do that today. We could, but some other day. You've probably seen other videos where we've handled cabooses, but that caboose is going to be taken over here by a switcher and placed on the caboose track. Probably by locomotive 1922 that's sitting right there. Kind of interesting, isn't it? So see, the path that he'll take will be to come down the lead over here, right over here, right over here, come back into the engine terminal and pick up that caboose. I don't know, this is killing me. I mean, we should do it, right? We got this far. I mean, sometimes you just have to give in to temptation. That's all it amounts to. Okay, so look at this. I have this very cool sidearm tripod. Wait a minute, you can't see what I'm doing. Okay, we have a sidearm tripod. You ever heard of that? That's a tripod with a beam on the side. Now, that means if I step on this, I can hold it down. I can raise this up to a higher height. I'm having trouble grabbing this and filming at the same time. There we go. That's what we want to do. So I'm going to tighten that. Oops. Very good. Very good. Very, very good. Okay. So we got our tripod. We've got the sidearm, but we want the sidearm over farther so we can see the action. Or maybe this is far enough. Let's call this far enough. I really don't want to waste your time. All right. So you got the picture? We've got a switcher down there that needs to come and get the caboose because the boys that were on this contest have long left. They're off. So go back to our throttle here and we'll select 1922, which is that other locomotive. For some reason today is BN day. We're just running BN locomotives. Select 1922. Enter. Oh, that's a whole different kettle of fish. That's a Tsunami 2. All right, can you see if I go over there and run this? I think you can. All right. So I'm going to uncouple the locomotive from the caboose. Oh, that's very nice. So we're going to, well, let's see, you should be, I'm not used to having so many friends in the basement. Okay, here we go. We're going to go in reverse because I think that locomotive is a long hood forward locomotive. Just a guess. Nope, I was wrong. So we'll go forward. All right, we didn't recouple. Very nice. Very nice. We're going forward. We need the headlight, the rotating beacon. There we go. Can you see that rotating beacon? This is why I like modeling this era. We have rotating beacons, we have cabooses. It's all good. Now we're leaving the bell on as we're going by the maintenance facilities, but I don't like the view we have. This is like a eagle or a seagull's view, but maybe we can put up with it for the moment. So we've got that switched the wrong way. Flip it. And we're going to come out on the other main. And unfortunately, whoops, why did that stop? Fortunately or unfortunately, we have to do a switchback in order to get into the engine terminal. I'm just checking to make sure all of our blocks are on. And they appear to be. So I can't tell you why that engine stopped. But that will bear looking into. That's the only trouble with gluing down ballast is sometimes it gives you electrical problems. All right. I don't know why I'm giving you such a ridiculous camera angle. But anyway. So this is the north lead, I guess you would say. And now we're going to blast over on the B track. That's one advantage of this angle. You can read the signs on the track. If you have enough focus, I don't know how good the focus is. Every time I've watched one of these live streams later, I've thought, boy, that's not very good focus. On my phone, it looks good. All right. So I applied the brake and I stopped right away. Now the brakeman gets that, flips that over. While the other brakeman walked across here to this track and flipped this over. You with me so far? All right, let's go back to where the engine is. All right, and we're going forward so we can do two little toots there. Oops, going the wrong direction. Didn't mean to do that. And for some reason we lost our rotating beacon, which I don't know. Oh, that's because of the short. There we go. Things are coming back together again. So we got our rotating beacon. And here live on TV, we're just going to get a caboose. Well, this is how crazy model railroading is. I mean, I can show you a very fancy video of a big operating session with all kinds of trains and people and cars and chaos, but this is pretty cool too. I don't mind watching a switcher. Okay, especially a GP9. We got 5 GP9s today. How good does it get? All right, now, maybe we can turn the bell off. 3 toots, because we're going the other direction. Seems to be some kind of a traffic jam on the bridge there. Nobody's moving. Now remember what we're doing here is we're simply going to get the caboose and put it out of the way. So our main goal at this point is to not hurt the conductor who might still be in the caboose, although I don't know about that. Let's try to do this gently. Oh, nice, nice. All right, so we'll uncouple this guy. Couple cars and locomotives without moving them with your other finger. There we go. Which is pretty unrealistic when you start doing videos, but What are you going to do? Okay, so we got our little horn action. We got our caboose. All we have to do is that same switchback. Oh, we don't have to do the same switchback. I've got a new plan. We'll go out on the lead where we have a different crossover. Very nice. In real life, of course, you have to stop for every switch you need to change. And if I did that in every single video, they would take too long. So I flipped this crossover here. You can see it's a curved crossover between the main line, which is this track back here, and the secondary main line, which is this track, but it ends right here in Interbay. So this is the place where, if you will, it goes from two tracks to one track main line right here in this spot. And I guess it's hard to know. I think it's better to leave the camera in the tripod so you don't have to put up with all that jiggling, don't you? Be nice if I went more, but so now the brakeman will jump out, flip that switch, and we can go back. I'm glad we got an engine with a, I just flipped the other crossover switch. Got an engine with a decent sound in it finally. Those ESUs, I have to fuss with the sound to get them where they're good enough, I think. Okay, now we got to pay attention. Wait. Where were we? Where were we? We've got to pay attention. We want to get over to the caboose track, so we need to flip this switch. Oh, I'm sorry, you couldn't see what I was doing there. We need to flip that switch. Here, I just flipped it, so we can take this crossover again. The same one we stalled at before. You suppose we'll stall again? I'm going to have to get out and examine that. All right, so we'll go again. And we'll go down in here and park that caboose in the caboose track, which was also, remember, that's where our switch engine was. That was an accident that it was there, right where we needed it. And it's also an accident that this particular little spot of track is dead. I really don't understand that. Oh, I have the panel turned off now. Okay, come back. Okay, I don't like this camera angle, so I'm going to stop showing you this, and we're going to go like this so we can really see what we're doing. For the last little bit of action, let's get a little closer here. Nice to hear all those sounds, isn't it? All right. Sorry about the shaking. I should really have a little miniature tripod to put this on for you. So see, we're coming in here, and we took the turnout to the caboose track, which is right here next to the car repair shed. And now we're going to see how gently we can do this. Bang! Very nice. Very nice. Now it seems to me all we have to do is uncouple the locomotive. Although this locomotive was not uncoupled when we climbed on board. But I don't really like keeping the locomotive on the caboose track. I think that was an error. So let's get out of here. Where should we store the switch engine? Well, I don't know. Right there on the lead isn't bad. I just didn't want it on the caboose track. You know what I mean? What's wrong with that? They can get out of the engine and go and commiserate with the car repairman. See, theoretically, they're working on cars. Now, we'll just end the video right with this, which is my favorite weathering job. What a beautiful job. I picked this up at a swap meet. I can't say I did it myself, but this is really, really nice. Really nice. And of course, I didn't mention how much fun it would be to take these Alco S3 or RS3s out. These are the SP and S engines from Bowser that just came out. But let's call that good for today. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll flip my camera over and say this is Burr Stewart wishing you much fun with trains.